Hey everybody, it is Matthew. I just want to welcome everybody back to the fifth and final video for the AWA Remco reviews. Today we are going to take a look at the Series 5 Mania action figures. But just before we do so, I do want to backtrack just a little bit. So I did take a few notes here just to make sure I didn't miss anything, or if I did, kind of relay that information as far as what wasn't reviewed in previous videos. So, as we know, Series 1 Remco's in 84, 2 and 3 came out in 85, but you also had in 1985 what they called All-Star Wrestling Fight to the Finish 2-packs in 1985. And I've seen photos. I don't have any, unfortunately, and they look pretty spectacular. You have tag team sets such as Steven Regal versus Kurt Hennig. There is a Buddy Roberts versus Greg Gagne and a Michael Hayes versus Rick Martel 2-pack of packages. What was also significant about these packages is that each of them did include little VHS videos as well. And as a matter of fact, this is one such example of what those packages would have included. And it actually says on here, Michael Hayes versus Rick Martel. And it's got different matches as well. Larry Zbyszko versus Larry Winters. Long Riders versus Road Warriors. And then Garvin and Regal versus Kevin Kelly and Paul Brown. I have no idea who those guys are, but All-Star Wrestling, again, this is what you would have found in those little packages. Oddly enough, I've had this for several months now, and I have yet to pop it into the VCR and actually watch it. But that might be on the to-do list in the near future, hopefully. And even the video cassettes, man, even the video cassettes have great artwork to them, so that's really awesome. But that's something that we didn't look at. I don't have any of those, so I wouldn't have anything to review anyways. Looks like in 1985 they also had these Battle Royal playsets, version 1 and version 2. I don't have the 1985 Battle Royal playsets, rings. I don't have the 1986 All-Star Wrestling Steel Cage match playset. Now, I mentioned in a previous video, I do have a AWA Remco ring with a brown wooden base on the bottom, and I do believe that wooden base is actually what goes to that steel cage playset. Me, I like to have the box sets as much as the actual items, so if I ever do buy the actual steel cage and everything, I'm looking to get the actual box with packet or with the ring. But I do have that loose, as well as the original ring. That's just simply a cardboard base. Well, Series 5 was like your Series 4 action figures, were a 1986 release. And in Series 5 with AWA Remco's, very similar to what you've seen or what we've discussed previously with the LJN review videos. In Series 6, not only did they introduce brand new members to the roster, but they recycled a lot of old wrestlers as well. So you saw a lot of repeats, Big John Studd, Macho Man, Ted DiBiase, Elizabeth, so forth, Adrian Adonis, etc. Figures you saw from Series 1 through 5, re-released on LJ and Series 6. AWA Remco, same thing. They were released quite a number of different characters on a single individual card. Here's something I didn't know until recently. On eBay, I found some figures. High Flyers, for an example. I think Steven Regal was on there. So this is a XOX Customs. So this isn't what you're getting from them, obviously, but just to kind of give you an example. So they had these figures in like little small loose Ziploc bags, and then you had like the AWA Remco, little tag, whatever, little All-Star Wrestling that's covered the top part. And so basically this is kind of like what they came in, and just simply because they were different and unique, I tried to bid on them, but you're looking at like $10 figures essentially loose, and yeah, that I'm not paying $90 for like a little Ziploc bag, because that's basically what you're paying for. If you happen to come across those, I've never come across those before, so I thought that was really awesome. If you're a collector, that's something to keep your eyes out for. If you not only want individual, as well as dual carded figures. All right, so kind of diving into the 1986 review. The first figure we're going to look at is the Barbarian Nord. And here's the thing with the Mania figures. Because these things are so rare and so priceless, if you're a collector and you have even one of these figures on hand, even loose, just one of these figures, you got to count your blessings, because as rare as the LJN Series 6 black card figures are, your Warlord and Ultimate Warrior, to find the Remco's Series 5 Mania figures, especially to find them on its original packaging, is pretty much impossible. I think there might be one person in the world that has them. At least I feel that way. You might have to go to custom route sometimes. Otherwise, you're paying $500 for a single action figure, and I've never valued Remco's that way, not even close. So, but this one is Nord the Barbarian, and John Nord. Obviously, I didn't know him from his AWA days. I know him best as the Berserker in WWF. So that was always, crazy awesome to be able to add that visual. Someone that I grew up watching, and that was, to me, he kind of reminded me of like Bruiser Brody. Just the overall facial look, the beard and everything, the way that he's huffing and puffing in the ring and everything. To me, Bruiser Brody was, what he was trying to copycat, emulate, whatever you want to say, when he created the Berserker character. And the Barbarian, 100%, one of the best figures of the AWA Remco line. Crazy awesome. And let's see if I took down any particular notes for this character. So, came into AWA came into wrestling, I should say, around 1984. He was like a Mid-South wrestler. And probably joined up with the WWF probably late 80s, early 90s. So, Nord the Barbarian, awesome piece for a collection. And I mean, everything about this piece is incredible. I mean, obviously with the face paint, again, I kind of reminisce, think of him as Barbarian from LJN. Not the same character. I mean, I love the accessories, I love the chain, the fur on, fur vest and all that. Amazing pieces. Alright, next one is who they call the Russian Boris Zukov. So this was supposed to be like a Soviet Union, someone who was billed from the Soviet Union, and don't remember his real name, but Boris Zukov was not a Russian in real life. I think he was like from Minnesota or something. So obviously, they do that a lot of times, especially the WWF in particular. They always take like these guys from like Samoa or Hawaii or whatever and turn them into Japanese wrestlers instead of getting like actual wrestlers from Japan or something. So same thing here. They just took an American wrestler and basically created this Russian character. And I guess if you're a kid and you were watching this guy growing up, his accent was probably so spot on that you probably wouldn't have even known the difference. Not until you probably heard him talk in real life years later. But again, one of the absolute rarest figures you will find in the entire line. Loose figure, if you want an original Boris Zukov loose, you're probably going to be in the $1,000 range. On card, $1,000 to $2,000, $1,000 to $3,000, who knows? I mean, again, it's so rare. It's really hard to put a price on these figures. Incredible piece. absolute gorgeous. In fact, if I ever do a my favorite AWA Remco tournament, which at the conclusion of my Hasbro reviews, that's what I want to do. I want to do a tournament because I've gotten so many of my customs in that I've got enough figures to make a fun tournament video or fun tournament videos. This guy, if he's not my winner, he's definitely got to be somewhere in like the bottom 6, bottom 8. It's a phenomenal figure. Absolutely love Boris Zukov. And in the late 80s, yeah, it's about 1989 or so, he actually moved over to WWF and was a tag team partner with Nikolai Volkov. I forget what they're called. The Zuka, who knows? It's such a long time ago, I can't remember. But they really weren't, this really popular, tag team. Anyways, Volkov and Sheik together, great tag team. They were champions. Zukov and Volkov together didn't really do much, and in fact, by 1990. Nikolai Volkov was already getting a push as kind of like a face in the WWF because, communism was gone. Basically Russia, the USSR was gone. Russia or the Soviet Union and America were basically allies at that point. So, yeah, make Nikolai Volkov a good guy, and at that point, Zukov was nothing more than a jobber. I think I read somewhere that they always made fun of him because he had an enormous head. I'm like, that's messed up. I actually went to, in basic training, I actually had a friend whose freaking head was enormous. And that poor kid got ridiculed like crazy. I mean, he had to be about 19, 20 years old. And what they put that kid through was incredible. Of course, when I went through basic training, I was like 19 myself, so I was a kid too. Boris Zukov, again, absolutely amazing piece. Everything from the accessories to look, phenomenal. All right, so this guy has such a crazy long name, and I would never in a million years be able to remember it. So I just, and hopefully let me fix this accessory here. It's kind of coming apart. So I am just simply going to call him Adnan, or Sheikh Adnan Al-Kasi. And again, hopefully I'm pronouncing that last name, Al-Kasi, correct. This man has been wrestling forever. What do I know about Adnan? From AWA, not a whole lot, to be honest. Obviously, his transition to the WWF was a huge game changer because he was manager of Sergeant Slaughter and the Iron Sheik at the time. And with the Cold War happening, or not the Cold War, excuse me, with the Gulf War happening at that time, around 1992, between 1992, he had this look that was very reminiscent of like Saddam Hussein or whatnot. So kind of like the storyline was that there was oh man, I heard the story a long time ago. I'm trying to get the story correct. I guess the story was that there was like secret files or secret photos taking of General Adnan Al-Kasi and Saddam Hussein or something. Obviously, it wasn't real. It is just part of the storytelling for the wrestling but because he looked so much like Saddam Hussein when they brought him into WWF, that was like a huge moment for them, especially when you had this Iraqi sympathizer and Sergeant Slaughter. And I talked about it in the past. When I've deployed as a soldier, it was always to Iraq. And as a contractor, when I deployed, up until the last couple of years, I was contracting. I was in Kuwait and Iraq. But prior to that, majority of the time was always in Afghanistan. And then the last few years, it kind of shuffled between Iraq, Kuwait, and Syria. And that's because, Afghanistan was closing down and whatnot. But and I kind of talked about it, how some of the local Iraqis, they had, I don't want to say they hated Iran or anything, but like if you're sitting in the car and you put on music and all right, you think, okay, I'm in the Al-Qut province of Iraq, so the music that's playing should be Iraq music. Of course, you don't understand what word they were saying, but obviously you've got the locals in the car with you, and they're going to turn off the radio, and they're all angry because like they don't want to sit there listening to Iranian music. So they really have this thing with Iran. I don't want to say hatred, but tasteful dislike. I don't know. So to see Sergeant Slaughter as an Iraqi sympathizer and the Iron Sheik, who is Iranian, to me that tag team really wouldn't have meshed well. But and then you got General Adnan Al-Qasi. So that is, again, here is another really special figure. With any Remcos, what do I always say? Because all the figures have the same body types, you're really the only thing that you're pinning your favorite figures on is all based on their accessories or, the coloration of like their trunks or something. So, in Series 5, between the Russian, between the Sheik, and between the Barbarian, that is already 3 top 10 figures right there. They could be 1, 2, 3. They could be 3 out of 5, 3 out of 7. I don't know how I'd rate them. It's a tough call. They're all amazing figures, and there are a bunch of others in this series, as well as a ton of early figures that I really love. So hard enough to put a number on it right now. But Adnan Al-Qasi, an amazing piece altogether. All right. Let's see who else we got coming up next. Now this is potentially the greatest figure of the line. Again, I probably say that about all the figures in this series, but this one really is special. And it's going to be Playboy Buddy Rose. This one is such an incredible piece. Now, obviously, I didn't learn this until recently. Buddy Rose ain't even his real name. I can't even remember his real name. I mean, that's something you'd have to look up. But when he first started in wrestling, he was trained by Vern Gagne. So probably 70s. He was wrestling by his real name up until the 80s or so when he took on this mantra of Playboy Buddy Rose. And even when he made it to WWF, I think around 82-ish, sometime in the early 80s, so I'm going to say 82. He'd be escorted by, I forget who his manager was, but he had, 2 managers or 2 women to his side and another manager. And I think Sherry Martel was one of those. And I'm like, man, Sherry Martel, as a manager, she really got around. I mean, she had like some really important pieces that she covered, that she managed. I mean, Roddy Piper, Macho Man, Ted DiBiase, Shawn Michaels. I think Rick Martel was one of those guys that she managed, but I could be wrong. But the other guys definitely. And Sherry Martel, Scary Sherry, Sensational Sherry, Queen Sherry. I mean, she had like a million names herself. But Buddy Rose, again, a perfect figure. I really wish I knew more about this character. I pretty much know probably less than the bare minimum, unfortunately. Way before my time, so everything I know about this guy is basically things I picked up over the years. I don't remember seeing him wrestle. Just because I don't remember it doesn't mean I've never seen him wrestle. It just means I don't have those memories. But as a playable figure, I mean, he's an awesome piece, just like the rest of them. And again, with this robe, one of the most pristine, perfect accessories of the entire line. And that is the Buddy Rose action figure. I know in 82, there was like another promotion he was committed to, and so he was doing a different number of house shows or whatnot because he was still committed to this other, he had other commitments. But once he was released from those commitments, he was able to join WWF full time. From what I can recall, he really didn't do too much. Had battles with like Bob Backlund and Pedro Morales in the early 80s, 82, and those were like two key champions right there that he just couldn't do anything with, and failed each time. It's fine. Not many people are, at least back in those days, not many people are belted. This day and age, it feels like every 5 minutes, you're getting yourself a new champion, but a lot harder back when championship belts actually meant something. All right, next one is referee Dick Worley. Now, I do believe there are two different referees, and I've been calling this one Dick Worley. I might actually be wrong. If I'm right, then omit what I just said. But I believe there's two different referees. I only have just this one. And, it's kind of funny. I had this really jacked up Big John Studd LJN figure. And I actually made an attempt to paint that Big John Studd figure myself. I'm not an artist. I'm not a painter. And you might as well give me a couple crayons and a coloring book and say color inside the lines. I would still find a way to mess that up. So I attempted to create a Big John Studd referee. And, from the waist down, pants and boots, beautiful shade of black. I just, for the love of me, could not figure out how to get the straight lines. And I'm kind of looking at it right now, and it just looks, from the stomach up, it just looks like crap. But very unprofessional. I was thinking about sending it out to someone to fix for me, but kind of looking at it, it's like, hey, it's the first figure I ever painted, so I kind of keep it just for that nostalgic reason. Do I know anything about this particular referee, Dick Worley? I really don't. And to be honest, if I were a kid and I had Remco's and I had this, he would not be refereeing any of my matches. Yes, most certainly he would be a fighter. I would use him as a wrestler, and the referee could be like his gimmick or something. So, outstanding figure nonetheless. And because of the awesome paint job on here with the Remco, absolutely, this could be a top 10 or top 12 figure for me if and when I do my Remco tournament videos. But it all depends on who they square off against. It's going to be another random drawing, so... Dick Worley, don't know anything about him, unfortunately. Sorry, guys. This one. Doug Summers. I really should have done some kind of research on this character because I really don't know anything about him. And, it's a good-looking figure. I like the accessory. But, this is the Doug Summers Matt Mania that I have. And this is actually the only Matt Mania carded figure that I have. And because I was the only bidder, I think that's the only reason why I won this. But guys, you're still paying like... I was the only bidder, and it still cost me $500. And at one point, I'm like, please, somebody bid again. Because I bid on it, I had plenty of time to withdraw my bid, but I didn't want to. But if somebody else bid and outbid me, I was done. But I just know because of the rarity of these figures and the value, if I wanted to, I could probably put this online for sale for like $1,500, and it may not sell right away, but I'm pretty sure eventually I probably could resell it if I wanted to. That's not going to happen. This is mine, part of my collection. It's going to stay with me forever. Or at least that's the goal, is to keep this forever. And, the single card backs, they're relatively simple. You don't really get any digicolor when you look at any of these series. They're all black and white. But again, a gorgeous action figure nonetheless with Doug Summers. And This actually has Doug Summers and Buddy Rose. Buddy Rose over here. That's pretty sweet. So this bubble is coming off the card a bit, and I think maybe that's why I was the only bidder. I mean, is it terrible? No, I think the value is still there. Doug Summers, and that is number 6. So Doug Summers, trying to see where I left off at. Doug Summers was 6. Number 7 was Marty Jannetty. I don't have Marty Jannetty, and I don't have Shawn Michaels. If you want to find the Rockers loose, an original Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty tag team, you're probably paying somewhere in the neighborhood of $350 to $600, and I'd rather have someone make me a custom figure of those guys than to pay $300, $400, $500 for them. It just makes no sense. Again, I just don't value Remco that way. And when I picked up the Buddy Rose, or excuse me, the Doug Summers, that was really different. That was a carded figure, and it was a figure I didn't have. So if I find a carded Midnight Rockers, again, I don't have them. That's a different story. But I don't have Marty Jannetty. I don't have Shawn Michaels. If you guys need to see what they look like, I really wish I was better with computers and stuff, and that way I could have like little inserts to show you what they look like. But it's an easy Google search if necessary. All right, so 7 was Marty Jannetty, 8 was Paul Ellering, and the rest of these guys, I just basically pulled them from the other series that we've reviewed. Again, these are all just re-releases. Paul Ellering, with these figures, because we've already looked at them, I'm not going to be giving any back history or anything like that. We're basically just going to take a quick look at the re-releases here in Series 5. So, Paul Ellering is 1, and as you know, manager of Legion of Doom. Number 9 was Ric Flair. So I pulled this from my Series 1, I believe. Or was it Series 2? You know what, this may have been Series 2. I pulled this from my Series 2 loose figures. And like Buddy Rose, I mean, he has one of the best robes, so I absolutely love this. It's one of my favorites. Ric Flair, Matt Mania on card. You're looking at over $1,000 on eBay right now. Is it that valuable? To be honest, I don't think so. Even though I've said Ric Flair is probably, or the Remco Ric Flair is probably my favorite Ric Flair figure, there are certain characters I'd be willing to pay up a little bit more for. Boris, Barbarian, the Sheik, because of how awesome those figures are, even Buddy Rose. I might pay up for those guys on card. But guys like Paul Ellering and Ric Flair, no. These guys I wouldn't pay top dollar for. If you get into like the $200-$300 range because of the rarity, maybe, but in thousands, they're never going to sell. I'm sorry to the sellers who have these guys listed. They're not going anywhere. You're going to hold on to those guys forever because people just don't have those type of resources, and those that do, just they're probably like me. They don't really fancy them that much. That was Ric Flair at number 9. Number 10 we said was Shawn Michaels, who I don't have, and number 11 is Nick Bockwinkel. Again, I believe this was from Series 4. I just pulled the Series 4 figure. Nick Bockwinkel, one of those guys who were constantly dethroning Vern Gagne's AWA heavyweight champion, among Larry Zbyszko, etc. Don't really know too much about the character himself. Great figure, accessory to boot. A top 12 or 15 figure for me among the original Remco line. I'm excited to do the tournament. I've said plenty. I'm pretty much your tournament guy. Here in 2023, I'm just doing so many different tournaments that I really feel like I should really be spreading them out. So I've done another, well, no, the LGN tournament ended I think in January or December. So if I do my third favorite LJN tournament, it'll either be December or it'll be January next year before I do the next one. With so many new figures, especially a couple new ones who I think could actually dethrone the incumbent champion. I think that new LJN tournament will be fun. So far this year, I've already completed my favorite Hasbro tournament. I've already completed my favorite tag team tournament. I still want to do a my favorite Galoob tournament and a my favorite Remco tournament. Also, my favorite XOX Customs by Random Treasures tournament. I've done review videos where I put them in order of least favorite to most favorite, but I've never done them in actual tournament style, so that's going to be on the docket as well. Right now, there are about 7 figures that I don't have from XOX, and if I had continued my pace of buying them as soon as they came out, I wouldn't be behind, but it just got to a point where I just was not interested in their figures anymore, that I just pretty much stopped buying them. Occasionally, I'd run into a good figure. Abdullah the Butcher, Jerry Lawler, Dusty Rhodes, figures like that. Yes, I'll spend for those. But when you get to like the Macho Man and the Hogan figures, and that Mike Sharp and junk like that, I'm like, no, thank you. But if I want that tournament to be complete, I know I'm gonna have to eventually purchase those guys. So we will see what happens. What time we at? We're at 31 minutes, and that's it for the Remcos. We could probably take a look at the rings, but I don't think you guys really have any interest. I mean, I think it's mostly about the figures. So I could pull out the rings I have, the box, show those graphics or something. But I recently got in a new playset. It's like a hockey game, WWF hockey game made by Remco, and I took it out of the box, but this thing right here, it's kind of looks crappy. It's not put together all the way. But the box that it came in, original box, that thing is a thing of beauty. And so Remco isn't just AWA wrestlers. Remco has made WWF, I don't want to say action figures. That's not an action figure, but they have made WWF memorabilia as well. So that's pretty sweet. But with a 30+ minute video, guys, I don't want this to be too much longer, so I'm going to shut up and end the video here. Look forward to talking to you guys in the comments, especially about this series, which is arguably the best of the series of the line, no doubt. And yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will talk to you in the comments. Bye, everyone.